Hello everyone, it's Robert at the Samplist, and today we'll be checking out Loop Engine along with Dark Rituals by String Audio. Loop Engine is a virtual instrument meant to provide ultimate control over how you play your loops. With access to real-time detection of keys and tempo, mixed with many manipulating options from talk boxes to reverb to delay, it gives musicians and sound designers an important tool for their toolkit. At the time of this recording, Loop Engine is on an intro sale of $89 with the normal price being $148. And for a limited time, this also comes with the first loop pack of this series, Dark Rituals, which brings awesome dark loops into the fray. Loop Engine supports WAV and AIF loops, but is not compatible with Rex files. The download size of Loop Engine is 16.5 megabytes, and Dark Rituals is just above 604 megabytes. And the Loop Engine can run on HALion Sonic version 7.1, which is free. In this video, we'll be going through some of the presets of the Loop Engine's Dark Rituals pack, do an overview of the Loop Engine itself, and a composition. We will hear all of this in context. A huge shout out, by the way, to String Audio for letting us check this out at no cost. Even so, they're in no way influencing my thoughts and opinions on this video. So let's go. Alright, so we have the Loop Engine open with none other than our Dark Rituals pack. And this is such a fun pack to have. I really like this. It sounds awesome. So what we're going to do is, for this section, we're going to go through the Dark Rituals, which is joined with the Loop Engine for a limited time. And then after that, we will go to the UI, which we will look into the Loop Engine further and use a couple of made samples that I did, and we'll go through the UI and whatnot that way. So let's get right to it. We have Catacombs open, and something you'll notice with these, it will say what the original BPM and key was and whatnot. So let's go and play around. So far, I really think this is awesome for a lot of different tension vibes. I could really see this being used for a lot of cool moments. I'm thinking of a show, Silo, that could use a lot of these pulses, a lot of these cool percussive elements. And there are other, I'm sure, sci-fi, dark fantasy type of vibes here that we could use, a lot of thriller vibes and whatnot. Sweet stuff so far. Again, awesome vibes here. A lot of dark. Well, it says dark in the title, so yeah. But a lot of that dark, tense, scary in a way, very intense stuff. So you have, if you have a character running, if you have something, you have to get this sense of running, this fear, this sense of foreboding at the same time. This is right up that alley. I have to say, this is awesome. This is so cool. And I know that they plan on releasing more packs for this, and I will have to really buy these because these are really sweet. And as you'll see in the next section, what makes this loop engine so cool is not only all the different parameters you have and the effects which we'll look into, but also the fact that you can add your own samples here, which we will go to. So that does it for this section. Short and sweet. Next, we'll head over to the UI. All right, so we have moved from the dark rituals over to the loop engine, as you'll see. Something I should mention before we do anything else here is that the most important function for the loop engine is adding the sample. And all you have to do is drag an audio file and drag it into one of these rectangles here. So there it is. And then it analyzes everything. It detects everything. And I think that's amazing. I think that really helps. To have all that, the waveform detection, tempo detection and whatnot, I think this is sweet. So as you can see here, it's this nice black blank slate. And with this, you could have the world as your oyster here with all these different cells here, or these different tracks here, which can have your own samples. And I have made these 6 pretty quickly here on a whim, just to see how it will work out, and it's really cool. So first, let's go over the UI. And it looks like there's a lot, but it's not that bad, I promise. So first, let's go through here. We have our speed to go through the loops, which I think is really cool to have, especially if you have a faster section that you want to slow down and whatnot. We can also add our custom notes. We have our graphic EQ here, which is very nice. Stereo enhancer. I think this is sweet to have, especially since you have also a color knob, which is pretty cool. Maximizer. And then over here, you just have so many different options, which I think is really cool. And you can randomize stuff. Next, we have our level, which is basically like the volume fader. We have our panning. We have our tuning. So we could really play around with that if we really want. Then we have our filter, which you'll also see over here. Sorry about that. So yeah, you can find your effects over here, which you'll also see the filter, which you could choose over here. You also can affect the resonance, and the cutoff in this matrix, which is really sweet. I think that's pretty awesome. Put that back down to 0 for the resonance. We also have our reverb here, which we could choose from a number of options. Look at that. That's a lot. I think that's really cool. We also have a compressor over here. We also have the delay, which you could also adjust over here. And then you have your distortion. So you could just have that cranked up and all that. But if you really want more control, then all you have to do is come over here to the effects page, where you have much more control over the different effects. These are just general over here, which is pretty cool. And you could choose your preset over here, which is really sweet. And also here. So that does it for this, except, well, I shouldn't say that. We have another button here, which is hold. And so once I have this turned on, if I press that specific loop, it holds. I think that's very nice. We have our options for how we're going through the loop. So we could just do the normal, straightforward. We have a reverse, we go backwards, which could be cool for like suckbacks. We also have our one shots. So if it just goes through once, or you could just do reverse one shot, so it goes backwards once. And then we have our continuous loop option over here, or we just go through it once for no loop. And we can go alternate, which means it'll go back and forth. And we have once. Let's take a look at the difference. So it looks like it's only going to loop one time. Which is pretty cool too, because then you could just really have a lot of control over the loop itself there in the length, which is really sweet. And speaking of that, you could adjust when it starts and when it ends. And then here we have our tonality, which we could transpose everything, which is nice. You can adjust the fade ins, fade outs, the levels and the pans overall by the looks of it, the amount of bars. We have our grid over here. Put that back down, which will have, this looks more like the semitones. There it is. Yeah. You could adjust the grid. I'll keep it at the 8th notes. I like that. Over here, it will detect the key of what it thinks the key of the file is. You could also transpose it up and down an octave or two. You could fine tune things. It also has the detected tempo, your EDSR, and the original tonality. And over here, you could also change the tonality of a specific loop over here. So pretty good stuff over there. A lot of control. A lot of control. And then up here, this is really sweet. So let me go back to, let's do that. That's percussive. Let's turn on the talk box. Really cool sounds. You could really have a strange percussive sound or mess around with something more tonal. And we have our low cut. Let's bring that back. Perfect. Then you could really adjust the mids or just have it cut. Same with the highs. And then we have our ensemble. Yeah, that's really nice. And then you can mute the whole thing. Or solo it. And I really think this is sweet. I think that there's so much control over here, which I'm not used to with this. I think this is sweet. I really think that there's so many options I could do here. And let me just play what I put in here. It's not going to sound as great because I did change things around, but the fact that I could just press the keys and it'll all play, I think that's really cool. And in the composition, you'll hear the percussion in here join along one of the halves. And for this composition, we're going to have the first half be one of the presets of Dark Rituals and the second half be another preset of the Dark Rituals playing the same set of keys. And I thought that'd be cool because then you could really hear a difference between the presets when they're all playing together. And I think it's awesome that they're all laid out very similarly. So that way you know what you're going to get with these different keys you play. So yeah, that does it for this section. Next will be that composition. I hope you like it. My final thoughts on all this is that Loop Engine is so cool. It's so powerful in what it brings. And Dark Rituals is an awesome first installment in their Loop Pack series that really shows how awesome Loop Engine is, what it brings, and the variability that you could do with all of these different loops and how you can manipulate them all to make such awesome sounds. I really like it. I really like Loop Engine as a whole, and I'm going to use this. It's going to be in the template. I'm going to go crazy with it. I can see myself making a lot of cool percussion loops and using them over and over and over again, and it's just going to be fun. So yeah, please like this video and subscribe to the Samplist, and comment below what you think of Loop Engine and Dark Rituals, how you feel about how the Loop Engine works and how you would use it and whatnot, what loops you would love to throw in there. So yeah, happy writing everyone.